Hi, my name is ShawNshawN. I do art on ShawNshawN.co and specials on eBay. Today we're going to review Captive State. So Captive State is the story between collaborators and the freedom fighters and then people caught in between. So this aliens land on Earth and kind of take over, right? So then there's people that work with the aliens and people that don't. For the most part, the aliens are all powerful. So the initial scene is this family's trying to escape the city to regroup after the first initial kind of battle between aliens and humans. The aliens are definitely winning, unfortunately. So they're trying to escape. All exits out of the city are blocked, and so they get down this. The father cuts through, and he's like, "I'm a cop. Let me get through." And he cuts through these barricades, and he's getting out of a tunnel. He's about ready to escape out of the city, and then he gets surrounded by aliens. Right? These aliens kill him and his wife. So then boom, that's it. You're like, "Oh my god, that was like, what happened?" Because they just cut it off after they kill the mother and father. So you fast forward 7 years, and it's a story of one of the survivors. So one of the survivors was the youngest brother. He's working at kind of this chip destroying plant where they take all these, they go and capture people's phones and TVs and all their memory chips, and he uploads them up to the server for the aliens, right? So they can spy on all the human race. And so his job is just to upload these videos, and that's how he gets paid, right? And he hates his job, but that's as much as he wants to work with the aliens. He really doesn't want to be a conspirator. My cat's getting in my closet. So he doesn't want to be a conspirator, right? But so he's working with his buddy at the same time. They have this big dream of getting across Lake Michigan to escape, right? Because they think once you get out of the city, it's gonna be lawlessness, but at least you can survive without the aliens constantly surveying you, right? Because they have drones following you around. They have implants, so you can't do anything. It's really kind of a pernicious occupation. And so at the same time, these aliens are building these huge blocks, and every downtown there's this huge area where they're taking all the raw material and they're burying it deep in the earth, and they're probably going to fly off at some point, right? And so they're basically strip mining the whole of Earth, and everyone that's compliant, they're getting rich. There's all these great stores, they're getting paid off basically by the aliens, right? And then they're promised that they can go on the off-world. So no one knows if that's true, if they're going to be off to the off-world or eating his food on the off-world, who knows what, right? So it's kind of like, why are you compliant? So it has kind of that big. The spaceship's a little bit goofy in this movie. They have these big rocks and they just float over the thing, and you're like, there's no rockets. You're like, it's kind of this typical space thing. It's like, ooh, it's futuristic tech. We don't even understand it, so we can do what we want. You're like, dude, you got to make a believable ship. So that's, I'd say, one of the flaws of this story. It doesn't bother me too much because it's a sci-fi flick. Overall, the story is really tightly woven. It has this really nice mystery about it, who works with the aliens, who doesn't. At the same time, you have this Detective Mulligan, who is a friend of the family, and he's like, hey, your dad's a cop, I can only protect you so much, don't go work with these other guys. He's saying there's this conspiracy to the commissioner. He's saying, hey, these guys are still around. It's like, no, they're not around, we wiped them out, dude. There's no more terrorists. What are you talking about, right? And then later on in the film, you find out the older brother, who's this legend for being a terrorist, has survived, right? So you're like, ooh. So now we're getting into the depths of the rebels and who they are, and it kind of goes along through there. So it has a lot of good unfolding. Yeah, it's just really nicely done as far as the story, as far as who works for who and who's working with the aliens, who's actually not working with the aliens. In this movie, I was really, I went in without popcorn to kind of save a couple bucks, and I was like, oh man, this is a popcorn movie where you're just like, you're like, what's going on? You just want to keep eating popcorn, right? Because you're so nervous with all this suspense. So I think they shot that really well. No flaws there, so there's not much to say. Except for the spaceships. Those kind of felt fake. But, you got to make it look weird. So, yeah, and it pretty much makes sense as far as they're compliant. It's all shot in Chicago, where I grew up. So that's kind of fun in that sense. Yeah, the timing's just about right. It's an hour and 49 minutes. But it moves so fast in the story that it's kind of intricate, but just enough of the story to kind of keep you going that you never feel like it's a long film. It's cut really tight, I would say. Obviously, for me, a really tight film is probably an hour and a half nowadays. Unfortunately, now it's like 2 hours. I saw one movie today that's like 3 hours. Like, who the hell's going to see a 3-hour movie in the cinema? You're going to piss your pants, right? The timing's about right. Didn't feel any slack in the film. Had just enough slowness to kind of balance with the fast action sequences. And you have this great mystery through the whole thing, which is just enough where you're kind of unraveling a little bit, peeling back the onion. But it's not like a lot of these mysteries nowadays in films, they kind of go like this direction, and that direction, and this direction, and that direction. And it's just super annoying because it's just like they couldn't think of a way to do a really good mystery where you kind of slowly peel back the onion, which is a really classical way of doing a mystery. So it's kind of like this, you know, you're the audience and you're kind of detecting what's going on because you're seeing all sides at the same time. So that's pretty well done, I would say. Yeah, overall, pretty nicely done film. I can't see any flaws really. I don't know if it'll win any awards because it's just a sci-fi film. The story comes together well, but it doesn't feel like an Oscar. But I couldn't find any flaws in the movies, right? So if you have no flaws in the movie, it should be a really good movie. Yeah, I really liked it. I think people that are not sci-fi fans are not going to like this. It's a little sophisticated, a little bit fast-paced. Yeah, I think the dumber audiences out there just aren't going to get it. I know I've had friends that are like, I don't like sci-fi movies. I don't believe in it. You're like, okay, whatever, man. You're so boring. So yeah, I think you have to be kind of a sci-fi fan to like this. It's not one of those like E.T. maybe say that has that kind of really human side to it. You get a really attached soft spot for the aliens. I saw E.T. 5 times in the movie when it came out. Of course, back then they didn't have streaming and all this other stuff you can watch the movie, right? So it's like, go see the movie as many times as possible with your mom. That movie was in the cinema for weeks, right? So there's no flaws in this movie. Yeah, it's pretty solid. So I'll give it a big thumbs up. If you want to subscribe, you can subscribe below. And I'll see you in the next movie review. Thanks for watching, guys.